Hi everyone, I'm Vanessa Jolly from Carinium, and today I'm joined by Grant Case. We're going to explore a really important shift in how organizations think about AI. Grant is going to introduce the AI Criticality Index, or ACI, a framework that condenses AI transformation into a single board-level number. Over the next few minutes, we'll unpack what that number really tells leaders, why it matters, and how organizations can use it to understand where AI has become truly critical. So thank you, Grant, for joining us today.
Thank you very much, Vanessa. Great to be here.
And let's kick off. What is the AI Criticality Index, and where did the idea come from?
It started with a story I was having with a Southeast Asian chief data officer. And in that story, he talked about in a planning meeting, his CEO had come to the team and asked them, in 5 years from now, how do I know we will have transformed through AI? So this CDO and his team had a collection of metrics, which for the most part were green, of all of the things they were doing with AI across the organization. So things like adoption, user counts. But the CEO pushed back. I want one number that really tells me how we have transformed. So the ACI flips the question. Instead of addition metrics we might use, it asks a very simple question. Turn off your AI. How many days until your business or your organization fails? And that becomes one of necessity. So you start to think of it as dependence. And dependence is really where transformation meets. If I can turn something off and nothing happens, I really haven't transformed my organization.
Thanks, Grant. And most organizations are tracking adoption dashboards, token counts, productivity scores. You're measuring something completely different. What's the gap?
It comes back to addition versus subtraction. Everyone's measuring what they've added. And I've seen this at Citigroup and IBM and at Dataiku, where we're always trying to measure what more we can do. But nobody measures what they'd lose. For example, Microsoft talks about there's 150 million people using Copilot. Guess what? If you turned off Copilot, how many organizations would that hurt? I'm guessing not a lot. JP Morgan Chase talks about we have 450 use cases with AI in production. Well, use case is more about activity. And that's what these adoption metrics measure. But adoption suggests there's some sort of utility, which is a necessary but not sufficient. Removal proves necessity. If I can take it away and nothing hurts, that's a problem for your organization because it means you haven't transformed.
If I'm a CDO and I want to measure this for my organization, how does it work?
The ACI is very simple. It has 3 measurements. The first is one of relevance. That's the KPI of your choice. I used operating income inside the paper. A government organization could use the number of constituents served. What we're interested in is the percentage of the total that AI serves of that KPI. The second is days to failure for AI. Simply, how long does that business unit organization survive if that AI fails in the number of days? The third is operating tempo. That is your business cycle. And I give a test inside of the paper to help you understand that. Now, the interaction between days to failure for AI and your business cycle gives you your urgency weight. And you get here on the screen. The faster AI fails and the faster it fails relative to your operating cycle puts you higher up in your urgency versus lower. Multiply that by that percentage you just got of the KPI itself that this AI application is serving, and you have your ACI. As a quick example, let's say my tempo is 7 days and my days to failure are 7 days. That puts me at 30% roughly. If this AI application is serving 10% of my total constituency, that's 3% ACI. We're multiplying and aggregating all of that up inside of an organization. 3% would be very small, and you're not very dependent upon AI.
If a major AI provider gets switched off tomorrow, what does this expose for businesses?
I look at Singapore, governments are very understanding of the sovereignty of the AI. I give the example in the paper of CrowdStrike. CrowdStrike is a tool used to monitor endpoints. Delta Airlines in the United States went through an update a year ago. That update bricked all of the endpoints. People were having to go and manually update computers across airports across the world. It grounded Delta for days, and it was a $550 million USD cost. The media scrutiny was immense. That's dependency without maturity. This is coming very quickly to AI, especially as we take these tools and deploy them out into organizations. They become more foundational to our employees. There's a real risk. Some think they're strongholds, meaning they have high resiliency because they have plans and they have high dependency, but they're in fact Hindenburgs, a high degree of dependency, but little to no recovery capability. You end up with a real mess on your hands if one of these falls down. And that really comes back to the real risk are the ones who have never asked that subtraction question. So if I subtract it away, how many days to failure before my entire organization collapses?
And the final question, if a CDAO watching this wanted to run a version of this assessment next quarter, where would they start?
And you can start small. Don't go out and buy software. Everything I detail in the paper in the framework, you can do all of the first cut on a spreadsheet. Take 2 to 3 business units you have. Go through them and do the subtraction test. How long does it take to fail if we take AI out of this business? Go in, talk about what is the overall tempo for the organization. For each one of those systems, you're determining how many days to failure without it. Estimate it. You don't over engineer it. In fact, when we talk about the ACI, it's a band, it's a range, and it's based upon what sort of documentation and testing you've done with the AI element itself. You cross-reference it with your BCP. If the BCP is out of date, maybe we need to go fix it a little bit, but that changes the estimate itself and the range you're giving it. Phase 1 is 3 months. Half an FTE at most. It's spreadsheets. Don't outthink it. You don't need a platform. You don't need to have somebody go buy something at that point. And most importantly, name an owner. In the paper, I talk about the ACI having 2 owners, someone who is responsible for the number and one who's actually creating the number itself. Until someone is accountable for the number, it's a voluntary exercise.
It's a fascinating shift in perspective from measuring where AI is used to understanding where it becomes indispensable. Thank you for walking us through the ACI, Grant.
Thank you so much, Vanessa. Take care.